Oh, thank God.
Josephina, are you aware that Dee's asked that all this art be destroyed?
Would it have changed anything?
Oh, Jesus, hold on, Josephina.
All right. Oh, my God.
Josephina? Hello?
Some monsters eat people. The monsters in Velvet Buzzsaw buy their paintings. And the terrifying part, most of them think they're the good guys. At first glance, Velvet Buzzsaw looks like a supernatural horror movie about cursed artwork hunting the elite corners of the contemporary art world. But after watching this film 6 times, I've come to believe it's about something far more unsettling. It's about what happens when people become so obsessed with consuming art that they lose the ability to see humanity. I'm Vintage, and this is 75 VOD, Vintage on Demand. And today we're talking about when art becomes consumption.
Welcome to 75 Vintage on Demand.
Dan Gilroy's Velvet Buzzsaw was released in 2019 to mixed reviews. Some viewers thought it was pretentious. Others thought it was brilliant. Many walked away confused. And honestly, I understand why. Because Velvet Buzzsaw disguises itself as a horror movie. But underneath the blood, the satire, and the supernatural elements is a story about exploitation. Not just of art, but of artists, of creativity, and ultimately of people. What's fascinating is that nearly every major character in this film considers themselves an expert in understanding art. Yet almost none of them understand any real understanding of humanity, and that's why I think they fail. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you which character I believe is the most tragic in the entire film. And surprisingly, it isn't who most people think. Now let's start with the star of the show, Morph.
I'm quite curious to know what you think.
I think sober hasn't been good for him.
Pierce was in the full bloom of alcoholism here.
Exactly.
Morph prides himself on being able to identify truth inside of art. His words shape careers. His opinions influence markets. His reviews determine what is valuable and what is disposable. But despite his confidence, Morph may be the least self-aware person in the entire film.
No courage. My opinion.
I can't save you.
He believes he possesses insight. What he actually possesses is authority. And there is a difference. Throughout the film, Morph evaluates everyone and everything around him. But he rarely turns that same scrutiny inward. One of the clearest examples of this is his relationship with Josephina. Morph can supposedly identify meaning hidden within a painting. He can interpret symbolism, he can predict artistic trends. Yet, he completely fails to recognize that Josephina is using him. He mistakes a shared interest in art for genuine intimacy. He believes their connection is deep, when in reality, it's entirely transactional. He mistakes access for affection, attention for intimacy, and proximity for connection.
You're more fucking Vanderbilt. What are you doing coming to a grand show with me?
I like being with you. We have a taste relationship.
For a man whose profession is built on perception, he proves remarkably blind when his own desires are involved. His tragedy isn't ignorance, it's hubris. Morph believes he understands meaning because people pay him to explain it. But expertise isn't wisdom, and authority isn't perception. Let's talk about Josephina.
Found something.
Who did these? Mesmeric.
Guy upstairs, he died.
And you just took them.
He had no family or friends.
The opportunist. Initially, she comes across as ambitious, resourceful, maybe even sympathetic.
No, I'm just having inside now.
I have to tell you something about Ricky.
What?
Josephina, he's cheating on you.
Are you serious?
I saw him with this girl
When?
last night at a bar.
What?
But Josephina's discovery of Vitrodis's work isn't motivated by an admiration. It's motivated by opportunity. She doesn't ask who this man was. She asks what his art can do for her. And that's where the film starts revealing its deeper argument. Everyone wants access to the art. Nobody wants a relationship with the artist. The paintings become valuable the moment they can be monetized. Not because they communicate truth, not because they reveal suffering, but because they create opportunity. Josephina isn't interested in understanding Dees. Oh, no. She's interested in leveraging him. Even after death. What makes this especially tragic is that she spends much of the film overlooking one of the few authentic people around her, Damrish.
You ever notice anything about this painting? You look at it long enough, it moves.
Unlike the collectors, critics, and gallery owners, Damrish is still creating. He still believes in the process. He still values art for what it is, rather than what it can buy. But Josephine barely notices him outside of his good looks and his manly prowess, right? Because Damrish doesn't offer status. He doesn't offer influence, and he doesn't offer access to power. In many ways, Josephina sacrifices the possibility of a genuine connection in pursuit of professional advancement. And that decision mirrors the larger message of the film. The characters become so focused on what they can gain that they lose sight of what is real. Which brings me to Redora.
You need it.
I heard you were the one to watch out for.
Oh, I'm easy peasy. Pussycat around.
Redora may be the clearest representation of the film's critique. As a gallery owner, she understands markets better than emotions, image better than authenticity, and profit better than people. And yet the film quietly reveals that Redora's relationship with art was not always transactional. At one point, she was an artist herself.
I can make you rich.
It's brilliant.
Demand has people ready to kill.
You can still see traces of that person in the concern she shows for Pierce, an artist and longtime friend whom she encourages to step away and rediscover his own creativity. That's what makes Redora so fascinating. She hasn't forgotten what art is. She simply chose commerce over creation, which makes her transformation even more tragic. She doesn't simply abandon art, she commercialized it. She turned creativity into inventory, meaning into product, and expression into investment. And once that transformation occurs, art ceases to be sacred. It becomes something just simply to consume. And by this point in the film, a pattern starts to emerge. Nobody is asking, what does this art mean? They're all asking, what can this art do for me? And if you're enjoying this type of movie analysis, where we look beyond plot and explore what films reveal about human behavior, be sure to like this video and subscribe to 75 VOD. We've got a lot more movies to unpack. Now let's talk about the character I find the most relatable in the entire film, Gretchen.
But I will be making enough to afford a terribly lovely car and garden.
Oh, hello, Morph. Hello, Jim.
Who has a hunger and a desire to simply matter. Gretchen fascinates me because her motivations feel painfully human. More than greed, more than ambition, and more than envy, Gretchen wants significance. She wants recognition. She wants to matter. And honestly, who can't relate to that? And I think that's why Gretchen may be the most relatable character in this film. Most of us have met a Gretchen. And if we're honest, most of us at some point have probably been Gretchen. At least I can speak for myself. Wanting recognition, wanting validation, wanting proof that we matter. Unlike Redora, Gretchen isn't sitting at the top of the art world. Unlike Morph, she doesn't possess cultural authority. And unlike Josephina, she isn't chasing the next big discovery. She's stuck on the outside looking in. And that's precisely what makes her so compelling. The tragedy of Gretchen isn't that she's evil. It's that she believes proximity to greatness can substitute for becoming great herself.
That all his art be destroyed.
She surrounds herself with art. She surrounds herself with artists. She surrounds herself with influence. But she never develops an identity separate from what she's attached to. And that's a trap many people fall into. It's easier to collect meaningful things than to create meaningful things. Easier to associate talent than to cultivate our own. That's why parasocial relationships are so rampant today. It's easier to borrow significance than to build it. Gretchen doesn't really want art. She wants what it represents. Importance, status, identity, proof that she matters. And because she seeks those things externally, she never truly finds them. Now let's talk about the artist, the tinsel on the tree, Ventral Dees.
Spent decades in a psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane.
I'm starting to think there's a disgust for the world of money.
The only character I feel with agency, one of the few characters. And that brings us to him, the dead artist. Ventral Dees is not a hero by any stretch of the imagination. His past is dark, violent, disturbing. But unlike everyone else in this story, he understands exactly what his art means. He creates with intention. He even leaves instructions for what should happen to the work after he is gone. Ironically, Dees may be the only character in the film with genuine agency. Everyone else reacts, consumes, exploits, calculates. Dees, however, creates. Even after death, his work refuses to become a commodity. His paintings reject ownership. His paintings reject ownership. They reject commercialism. They reject consumption. It's almost as if the artist's self understands what the people around it cannot. Art was never meant to be consumed. It was meant to communicate. And when communication becomes commodification, something dies. We see it every day in different forms of art today. But I digress. Coco, the person everyone looks through. And she is indeed one of the most overlooked characters in Velvet Buzzsaw. And I think that was intentional. Because the entire film is about value. Specifically, who gets assigned value and who doesn't.
Hey.
Do you have a minute?
No, I'm just heading inside now.
I have to tell you something about Ricky.
What?
Josephina, he's cheating on you.
Excuse me. Coco is present throughout much of the story. She's observant, helpful, competent, reliable. She keeps things moving, yet almost nobody pays attention to her. She's treated the same way many people in service positions are treated in real life. Visible enough to be useful, invisible enough to be ignored. Worst feeling ever, ask me how I know. What's fascinating is that everyone in the film claims to appreciate beauty, meaning, and human expression. Yet they repeatedly fail to acknowledge the actual humans standing in front of them. The art receives more attention than the people. The paintings are studied, the workers are overlooked. The collectors are celebrated, the assistants are forgotten. And in that sense, Coco becomes one of the film's most important symbols. One more sip, hold on. She represents every person society sees as functional rather than valuable, necessary rather than meaningful, present but unseen. Doesn't that sound like everyday corporate America? The irony is that the art world prides itself on perception, yet it cannot perceive the humanity of the people around it. And Coco may be the clearest example of that failure. Coco doesn't fail to see people, she sees them. Everyone else fails to see her. Now let's talk about the real horror of this show. Okay? Velvet Buzzsaw, it isn't supernatural paintings that's the horror. It isn't murder, it isn't the ghost, if we can even call them ghosts. The horror is the world filled with people who can identify artistic value but cannot recognize human value. That is the real horror. They're surrounded by art, yet art requires empathy. They are fundamentally incapable of empathy. People who know the price of everything and the value of nothing. The film suggests that the art world isn't unique. It's simply a reflection of a larger culture, one where everything is consumed. Creativity, pain, relationships, identity, even tragedy. We see it every day in our normal news cycle. And this is the thing. By the end of Velvet Buzzsaw, on my 6th watch, it may be the ones before, the question isn't whether the artwork was cursed. The question is whether the people were. Because every character who encounters Ventral Deese's paintings sees an opportunity, a transaction, an investment, a shortcut. Almost nobody sees a person. And maybe that's the warning hidden inside the film. The moment we stop seeing humanity, we become consumers of one another. And that's far more frightening than any monster. What's particularly tragic is that nearly every character spends the film chasing substitute for what they truly want. Morph wants connection, but settles for attention. Josephina wants success, but pursues opportunity. Gretchen wants significance, but seeks proximity. And Redora wants artistic immortality, but chooses commercial success instead. And in the end, none of those substitutes satisfy them. Maybe that's what Ventral Deese's art was trying to communicate all along. If you've already had an opportunity to watch this intriguing dark horror comedy, then you'll notice I left out a few key characters, like John Malkovich's Pierce, David Diggs d'Amriche, although mentioned, I didn't examine him further, or Billy Magnuson's Bryson. Also Tom Sturges' John Dundon, which is one hell of a name, but I love it. The entire cast is well put together and made for a very entertaining yet thought-provoking watch. And if you haven't seen this movie, I encourage you to check it out. There is so much to be explored beyond what I discussed. For me, the most tragic character is Gretchen. Not because she's the worst person in the film, but because she's the most human. And Toni Collette played the shit out of her, okay?
No, not in our records, and we have everyone.
She's chasing something almost everyone wants, and that is to matter. And that's what makes her story so heartbreaking. Before I go, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Who do you think is the most tragic character in Velvet Buzzsaw? Is it Morph, Josephina, Redora, Gretchen, or Vitruvius himself? And here's the question that stayed with me after my 6th viewing. And it's this: which character do you think was the most self-aware? Let me know in the comments. This has been 75 VOD. I'm vintage. And remember, some movies entertain us, the best movies stay with us.